Michael, thanks for joining us today. I want to get right to it. Why did you cancel the fourth and final event of the year in LA?
Yeah, so first, a little background on Grand Slam Track. So, this is a startup, and in startups, you're always, experiencing, in the first couple of years, you're going to experience some wins, you're going to experience some losses, you're going to experience some headwinds, and we're no different with Grand Slam. So, we've had a very difficult season this year, in addition to the fact that we've had some amazing performances and some amazing metrics that really sort of proved what we set out to prove, which was that you can coalesce an audience around this sport outside of the Olympics. And that's what we set out to do with Grand Slam Track. The vision was always to establish this sport here in the US first, and elevate the sport outside of the games. So we did that this year. So we're very proud of what we were able to accomplish over our first three meets. But it has been a very difficult season this year. And for that reason, we felt like we needed to cancel LA and try to get things right with the league so that we can make it sustainable and continue with the mission.
Now, was that for financial reasons? I just want to be really clear there.
Yeah, we want to be really clear. We've had a very difficult situation this year financially. We had an investor that wasn't able to honor their complete commitment to the league. So we started off with the capital that we needed to get through the season as we planned it with the four slams and make sure that we could take care of everyone. And we always knew, again, this first year is a inaugural season. We're going to have some difficulties, but that was a huge blow to us, caused a major cash flow issue for us, put us in a difficult position, put our athletes in a difficult position. But we're very confident that we'll pull ourselves out of it. As I said, this season has been amazing by any measure in terms of, what we're able to do with the sport, how we're able to partner with our athletes and go out there and achieve the sort of television broadcast numbers that we were able to achieve the sort of social media engagement that we've been able to achieve, and also achieve the sort of attention outside of an Olympic year that you typically, and certainly in a post-Olympic year that you typically wouldn't see. So we're very proud of what we're able to achieve this year, and especially under really difficult situation and circumstances. But it gives us confidence, and it's attracted the attention of numerous investors and sponsors that are on board with us to get on board with us for next year. But we've got to get this right. We've got to get our athletes and vendors taken care of.
Yeah.
And it sucks that we're having to sit here right now, and I'm having to talk about,
right. Yeah.
Those things in addition to all of the amazing things that we did this year. But that is our situation. Both of those things are true.
I do want to ask you, who was the investor and how much of a commitment did they pull out of?
Yeah, so, obviously, I want to keep the focus on positive relationships and make sure that we're not, doing anything that's going to make this any more difficult than it already is. So, and this is going to be difficult going forward. We're confident, but certainly don't want to make it any more difficult than it already is.
You guys, Michael, have millions in payments. I know that you owe to vendors as well as some of the athletes, and the deadline for those payments has been moved a couple times. First, before you can even plan for next season, you have to pay out those debts, right? Are you looking at raising more money from the existing investors, finding and calling new investors? How do you plan for next year, but also first settle all debts?
Yeah, so all of those things. So as a startup, you're always raising money. So we knew that we would always be raising. We've been in those conversations, and we continue to be in those conversations with new investors that, are attracted to what we were able to build, but also our existing investors as well. And our board, we've been working very hard over the last couple of months to make sure that we can get everyone taken care of and making sure that we can actually get to next season and continue on the mission to elevate the sport. So we feel good about that. But yes, that is our process right now. And it's what I do every day. It's what I wake up every morning, thinking about, how do we overcome this and get new investors on board? How do we get our existing investors in position with all of those negotiations? It's what I wake up in the middle of the night working on and thinking about, and what I wake up every morning. That is our priority. We believe in this league. We believe in this sport. And as I said before, we put some people in a very difficult situation, and we don't take that lightly, and it's what our priority is.
Yeah, I know we said we didn't want to dwell too much on the negative here, but I just do want to understand kind of how we ended up where we are. So you mentioned the investor pulling out. I'm curious if you think there are any mistakes that the organization or you made that led us to this place.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I think, we absolutely didn't get everything right in year one. I mean, that's again, part of the nature of a startup. You're going to make mistakes, and you have to be in position and ready to overcome those mistakes. And it's no different than being an athlete. You don't win every race, and you don't come out of every race saying, oh, I did everything perfect. Or even, hey, we won that race today. You're always thinking, hey, what did I do wrong? Or how can I be better? Right. So absolutely, we made some mistakes this year. We knew we would. But one of the things that, in hindsight, when we look back, we're in a very, very difficult economic situation right now that is pretty unprecedented and has affected a lot of folks, a lot of businesses, and affected one of our investors and then affected us as well. So, we will be much more cautious going forward. We were structured in a way with the commitments that we had from the very beginning when we raised to go out and take a bold step, which we did to transform the sport. We probably went too fast. We were structured to do that, to go fast, but ultimately, depending on investors that are going to be able to honor their commitments, and depending on an economy, which when we first started this was pretty predictable and pretty robust, and then there's a pretty seismic shift in the economy, which has affected one of our investors and affected us. So we learned from that, and going forward, we need to be much more cautious. I mean, this sport is already, in a precarious situation, which is why there's a need for Grand Slam track and why we are doing this. But understanding that this sport is in a precarious situation, even though, we want to take a bold step, we probably need to be more cautious, and certainly will going forward.
Is there any risk, Michael, of not moving forward? I mean, just to be clear, you guys are full steam ahead for another year, but first you have to settle these debts. I mean, is this a bankruptcy situation, or we will definitely be back, we just kind of have to reshuffle here?
No, our situation is that, we have, as I said before, we proved a lot of what we needed to prove in year one, which is that if you take the best athletes in the world, you put them in a situation where they enjoy the competition, you make it easier for them to compete, which is what a lot of our athletes said this year. They didn't have to travel over to the other side of the world. They live and train here. Many of the athletes, whether they represent the U.S. or not, many of the athletes that represent other countries as well live here. We flew them to the events. They don't have to worry about their own flights and, flight reimbursements, which is a big issue in the sport of whether you can actually even cover your cost of travel and all of those things once you get to a meet. So we were able to cover all of that for them, elevate them, help them, partnership with them, and help them build their own brands, which are things that help them to enjoy the sport and connect with fans, which is what we wanted. We proved a lot of those things this year, which puts us in great shape for next year. But absolutely, we need to take care of this year. We need to take care of those folks that we owe. We need to take care of our athletes. That is a priority. A lot of folks behind the scenes as well who are helping us to get this thing done. Our television production, our event day to provide a premium experience for our fans. All of those things cost, and a lot of people, were involved in that and helped us with that and did great work. And we need to take care of them, which we will do. And then we're on to next year.
I want to go back to something you said earlier. You mentioned the broader economic picture being a problem, and I was wondering if you could be a little more specific. What exactly happened? What in the economy are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you can. I think as far as the economy is concerned, everybody's experiencing a bit of a crunch right now. There's a lot of volatility in markets. There's a lot of uncertainty right now, and that causes people to sort of pull back, at least momentarily. April, we saw a bit of a seismic shift in the economy due to, tariffs, and the global economy, was affected by that. And so there's a lot of uncertainty right now, a lot of volatility, which, we can ride that out, but people, ourselves included, need to be a lot more cautious when that is the case. And so it was really late for us to be able to pivot, when that happened, and when we lost that investor's commitment. But because the other thing for us is, we had each one of our competitions scheduled 1 month apart. which, would put us under a lot of pressure from day one that, okay, we finished one slam and now we've got to get into the next one. And a month apart, 4 weeks is really not 4 weeks. We finished one slam on a Sunday. Everybody's traveling home on Monday. We're into the next week. And then 2 weeks later, everybody's showing up at the next location. So it's been a furious sort of few months for us. And so being able to pivot at that point when you have athletes who have structured their season around, the 4 slams that we had planned, when you promise them, you're going to fly them first class and plus ones, and you're going to put them in hotel rooms by themselves, which our athletes really appreciated. Those are things that they're not used to receiving and not how they're used to being treated, and we committed to treating them that way. All of those things cost, and it's very difficult to make that pivot in the season and say, okay, we're going to, pull back, from a financial standpoint. We needed to complete a season. Unfortunately, we didn't do LA, but we completed 3 competitions that we feel really good about. And now we can start to make the adjustments that we need to make to be a lot more cautious going forward.
Yeah, I know we're a little long here, but I just wanted to get one more question here, because you mentioned spending on first class accommodations and first class travel, and I think what a lot of people are wondering is you lined up all these commitments, 30, 40 million, depending on the reports, and I think I have some of the answer from you, but I want to just hear a little bit more directly. Where did all that money go? I mean, obviously you mentioned a little bit of it, but I just want to hear it directly from you.
Yeah, so it was widely reported that we raised 30 million, or we had 30 million in commitments, which we did, but we didn't receive all of that because, as I said, one of our investors was unable to honor their full commitment. So we had, we raised a significant amount of money. It cost a lot of money to do what we did this year. As you said, flying athletes first class, treating them as the professionals that they are. They deserve that. It's what we committed to, and we were able to honor that, and we're pleased with that. Being able to present the competitions, in a way that is consistent with the quality of these athletes. I mean, that is one of the commitments that we made to the sport. Which we will continue. We were structured in a way and committed. We had capital committed to go out and do the things that we did. But once we had this bombshell dropped on us, it made it very difficult. But we feel good about what we were able to accomplish. Like I said, it's been a very difficult situation for us. I'm very proud of what our team was able to accomplish and all of the folks that worked on this and our athletes as well. But it's been difficult, but it put us in great position, I believe, given the interest that we have now from investors and sponsors. It's very difficult to sell this from the very beginning when it's just a concept and it's in theory. Right. The advantage we have now is we sit in a position where we can look back and say, okay, we had 100 million views of just our content from Philadelphia alone in the 5 days following Philadelphia. Those kind of things are very compelling. We had numerous records in Philadelphia. We had 13,000 people in the stands for 2 days, 13,000 on Saturday, 13,000 on Sunday. That's compelling in the U.S., where people have consistently said, are you not going to be able to fill a stadium in the U.S.? Now, well, we got 13,000 people in there. So those things are compelling, and it's caused folks to really look at Grand Slam track and what we're doing and this sport and the athletes that compete in it and say, yeah, there's a reason why everybody watches this sport during the Olympics, and there's no reason why that can't happen outside of the Olympics. And I think, we proved that this year. Well,
that's a good segue, Michael. I mean, let's end on this. But before you guys launched, you said that you don't believe track has a demand problem, it just has a supply problem. And of course, Grand Slam is one of many new hot kind of track startups and new track models. Do you still feel that's the case?
Yeah, I absolutely. And I think we proved a lot of that, as I said. There's an audience for this sport. People love this sport. They just don't have enough of it to enjoy. And one of the big difficulties with it in the past has been unable to find it. I mean, we're televised on the CW live, free to air, and we're simultaneously on Peacock streaming, and then and NBC broadcast as replays of our events. The Philadelphia is coming up this Saturday. You can watch it and and see it again. So that's what we need, and people have watched. I mean, our numbers for our television broadcast outperformed almost every other emerging sports league out there. That's compelling, and it says to the market that yes, this sport, if someone's able to take it and put the best athletes together and present it in a way that is compelling and entertaining in a modern way, on par with other sports, people will watch, and that's what we saw this year. So we're very proud of that. But it goes without saying, we've got hard work to do ahead, and we're not going to give up on that. We're going to do the hard work and come back and see you in 2026.
Michael Johnson, thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.